Want to stop juggling spreadsheets, calendars, and a dozen apps just to run your rentals? Logify makes it easy. It's an all-in-one toolkit for hosts. Build a direct booking website, automate guest messaging, and keep all your channels in sync. Running your rental business your way has never been simpler. And for Good Morning Hospitality listeners, you can get 20% off any yearly plan with code GMH20. Just check the link in the show notes to get started today.
Welcome to Good Morning Hospitality, your one-stop shop for the latest news, noteworthy trends, and thought-provoking discussions across the industry. From hotels and short-term rentals to all things travel and hospitality, you'll find each episode equips you with the information that you need to start your week. Join us on Good Morning Hospitality every Monday, wherever you get your podcasts.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. How we doing, you two?
Fantastic.
Brandy, new location.
Yes, new location, but a repeat if you've been a long-time listener. This is usually a background in the summer and at Thanksgiving. I'm up in the Adirondack Mountains in upstate New York, here for like almost 3 weeks, which is really awesome.
Such a good time. So much time off. I'm kind of shocked.
Yeah, well, that's not all time off, but a big chunk of it is time off. And yeah, it's great. I mean, this is my favorite place in the world. So the fact that I get to spend 3 weeks up here is pretty incredible.
Well, thanks for sharing some of your time with us. We appreciate it.
You should be
as
so
always. Jamie Lane, welcome back. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well. We had first day of school today here in Atlanta. So August 4th and the kids are back. So all those sort of fun back to school activities, getting ready for the school week. We're back in the swing of things.
I feel like August 4th is way too early to go back to school. It's still summer. How is that happening? Are they just cutting kids' summers short, or what's the deal? Do you guys get released way early?
No, they're trying to move more towards year-round school. So we get like weeks off for fall break, winter break, spring break, and week off for Thanksgiving. So
honestly, that kind of makes a lot of sense. Break up the vacations throughout the year.
I know a bunch of teachers are probably not going to be happy about missing their summer paid vacations, but yeah, that might be a little bit of a change. But hey, if it works, it works, right? I don't have kids, so I don't know. What do I know?
It does make it a little bit easier to like keep the kids sort of in, like, you don't go through the summer of boredom. Like, all right, after 2 months, you're like, all right, we're still off school. Like, what is going on? And lets you sort of pepper in some sort of good breaks throughout the year. And I like it. I enjoy it.
Awesome.
Yeah, love that. Love that.
What about you, Will? How was your weekend?
Very chill weekend. It's kind of a reset type weekend. Nothing crazy. Went paddleboarding. My friend had a housewarming party. Went to that. So, the little things this weekend. It was lovely.
So no celebrating and this was a big week. I know you guys did the G&H sort of announcement show, but for those that didn't listen in and maybe share the big news, how are you?
For those that aren't watching the show, you should be. But if you are a listener, we got acquired by Skift, which is huge, super exciting. I'm wearing a Skift hat, so I get to finally wear it publicly, which is something I'm very excited about because Rafit gave it to me in New York during their data and AI conference when we said, let's make a deal. So it was very exciting, and I just couldn't be more excited. I've been actually working in my new role with Skift for the last month, basically today. So it's been cool to see how the magic is made under the hood to be of the great media company that it is. So yeah, very exciting times. Very exciting.
And for everyone that wants more details, Will and Michael did a show that they released last Thursday, sort of walking through the details around the deal and all that. So it was a good listen.
Oh yeah, it was quick. It was something a little. Hey, we started the show 5 years ago. Let's just do a little quick recap of 5 years almost in October, and yeah, to get it through acquisition, to land at Skift, it was just kind of like the surreal moment, right? The perfect brand, the perfect place for it to all end up at. So we couldn't be more happy. And hopefully the listeners are as happy as well, because that just means the show is going to get a lot better. More editorial content, more voices, and faster and easier access to actual breaking news. So we'll have a lot
you guys
of
have a whole newsroom now.
I know, it's incredible. I was like, holy crap, we actually have resources. It's so
no more panic Googling.
yeah, panic Googling, early Monday
Hospitality
mornings.
news.
Yes. What are we talking about today? Very good stuff though. So yeah, for all the listeners, if you haven't already subscribed to other Skift podcasts, other Skift media, you should. We'll link it in the show notes. But without further ado, I think we have some amazing content to discuss. But actually, before we do that, I do have one more thing we have to talk about, and that is, of course, our partners at Guesty. If you have not heard of Guesty, they're a property management software who is just doing amazing, great things. And of course, if you have been listening over the last couple of weeks, you'll hear or have heard that we're going to be at their conference in Mexico City called Guestival, where Michael Golden and Brandy Canali and myself will be at their event on stage doing moderated panels, getting some podcast interviews on the side, and of course, learning all the great things that they're going to be covering on the stage there at Guestival. So if you haven't got your ticket, grab it now. And of course, check out Guesty wherever you look up stuff like Google. There you go. Go to guesty.com. So yeah, Jamie, let's jump into this topic really quickly, because I think it was quite interesting to see the updates from booking.com, and you sent over the what was it, Q2? I'm off a quarter.
Yes,
so,
Q2.
Yeah, Q2 results.
Yeah, so Booking.com released their Q2 results last week. We are going to have Airbnb and Expedia sort of digging in and releasing their Q2 results this week. Expedia comes out on Wednesday, Airbnb on Thursday. So more data coming out. But overall, it was a great quarter for Booking.com. Room nights were up 8%. Very strong growth in Asia, Europe, US, pretty weak. We'll talk more about that in a second. But what was really interesting for me, they called out alternative accommodations growing 10%. So their fastest growing segment of their business still to this day. They're at 8.4 million listings, which were up 8%. So they are seeing demand for alternative accommodations growing faster than supply. That's what Michael always wants to see. Like, are they generating more demand than supply growth? And they are. Alternative accommodations now makes up 37% of their business. And they're still very bullish on it, but they did call out that they feel like the segment is sort of reaching maturity. So they do expect the growth rates to slow going forward, but that it will continue to be their and a fastest sort of segment for them. And to just give some context on sort of expectations for Airbnb and Vrbo on supply side. So we still see Airbnb growing at about 10%, their overall listing counts. And we see Vrbo growing at about 5%. So Booking.com right in there with Airbnb in terms of strong overall growth.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Just quick comment on Booking.com, because for the accommodation, like alternative accommodations, which is, the short-term rental, vacation rental sector, I think that is that wasn't one of the primary OTAs that maybe some of the more traditional vacation rental companies were getting on. So they might still have actually a lot more room to grow, where if some of the other OTAs start to plateau at some point, people who might not have thought of Booking.com as appropriate OTA for their single family home vacation rental business might start to change their mind.
Yeah, and like we've started scraping Booking at AirDNA, and their penetration to the US is still so low. Like they have so much opportunity. And I people still laugh at me when I tell them my home's listed on Booking.com. They're like, "What? Like, do you actually get bookings for that?" And like,
what's the answer? Do you?
Yeah, I
Okay.
got a house in the woods in North Georgia, and I actually get a significant portion of my bookings through Booking.com. And
Okay.
I suspect Brandy, like,
Yeah, they became our largest OTA, like totally
Whoa.
eclipsed Airbnb. So yeah, it's huge, and it makes like it made more sense for our product, like full building multifamily. But then
Yeah.
it also just goes to show that there is demand in the US for Booking. Like Booking.com is known, people are using it. So vacation homes should also get their fair share.
Well, that was the question I was going to ask you guys. Like, is Booking up there with Airbnb because it's just doing a really good job at marketing to new hosts and operators, or is it actually bringing demand and people are seeing that and turning that channel on and be like, oh, there's actually gap nights or reservations I can actually use to fill my calendar rather than just kind of have it as another channel just to have on to say, to say that you have it on. So it sounds like Booking.com is actually generating guest bookings, which is great for short-term rentals.
Yeah, and I mean, in the last year, since that Super Bowl ad, I think that they've really had a concerted push to like, and it even shows in the earnings that their marketing spend is up. So they're definitely, Airbnb will always, I think, have this grip on the market because it's synonymous with short-term rentals and vacation rentals now. But people are like, oh, I have an Airbnb, but they might have booked it through someplace else,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and then the thing that's still in the back of my mind, and you hear Glenn, their CEO, talk about it, is a lot of the incremental demand that comes through Booking for short-term rentals is people that started their search for a hotel, and then based on where they're staying and the type of accommodation that might be best, they end up booking a short-term rental. So they are in sort of mid-flight, and search, sort of converting that user from hotel to short-term rental, which is and it maybe happens some on Expedia between the sort of hotel to short-term rental, though Vrbo is still sort of so strong on like the dedicated vacation rental supply. Booking, much more so than them, has the sort of multifamily and both and city beach sort of inventory, which is a good mix.
Yeah, I was watching a podcast unrelated to travel and hospitality, but Grace Andrews, who is the executive producer for Diary of a CEO for a long time, who's no longer there anymore, but she was talking about the road to discovery is no longer linear. So when people are searching for content, when they're searching for a vacation home or a hotel or a trip or a vacation, they no longer just start at one spot and then work their way through the funnel. They kind of have multiple pieces of that funnel hitting them at once. And I think that Booking.com statement you just made, Jamie, is a perfect example of people not really starting with searching for vacation rentals, but looking for something and ending up in that path. So yeah, the road to discovery is getting less and less linear for sure, which I find interesting how that crossed over. So very interesting points.
Yeah, and then just to sort of end up on Booking, and the one thing they called out in terms of weakness for their business was sort of U.S. travel. So they called out lower ADRs in the U.S., lower length of stays in the U.S., lower booking windows in the U.S., and overall their lowest sort of overall growth rate, and low single digits, so 1 to 3%. Like it was a weak quarter for overall U.S. performance, and maybe as a lead in to the next segment, like, and we're seeing that sort of across the board. So Booking did call out, they're like, it was the weakest part of our business, but we still think that they sort of outperformed the broader sort of U.S. accommodations industry.
Yeah, no, that's very interesting stuff. Before we do get into the US, I would love to add one little story that we saw this morning, which is exciting because I think we see very little news in terms of acquisitions around short-term rentals. So we want to give the whole team at Made Comfy a big shout out and congratulations to their exit with being acquired in a deal of over $50 million by Oyo, which, if anyone is familiar with the brand, recently actually acquired Motel 6 as well from BlackRock in full cash deal. So Oyo's been making some pretty big moves, some big spending, and it's just great to see that now they're going to dominate Australia and New Zealand with the Made Comfy acquisition, which is, Jamie said before we went live, that They're actually the biggest operator in Australia and New Zealand. So big
It
footprint.
also it also just goes to what we were just saying, that even in the article it says an Airbnb management company.
Yeah.
It's like, and that's just how I saw, that's how like this like is, this announcement is being, presented everywhere. And that just, I mean, it really, Airbnb does have such a dominance in the vernacular everywhere.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. They are a platform, but the platform is truly management of guests and homes and all the fun stuff. So it's funny how, this still carries through. But yeah, big congratulations to the Made Comfy team. All right, Jamie. So US, let's talk the numbers. I'm scared.
So in sort of prep of this and sort of digging into broader travel. So at AirDNA, we did release our mid-year outlook report, sort of looking at the sort of outlook for US short-term rentals, but just sort of broader what we saw in across the travel landscape in Q2 and really the first half of this year. We've been seeing overall hotel demand down. So it was down roughly 0.5% in Q2. So a pullback in hotels. We saw a TSA throughput, so the number of people sort of going through checkpoints and at airports in Q2 down about 1%. Did recover a little bit in July, but we're just seeing some real weakness in terms of sort of the U.S. traveler right now. And then when we look at short-term rental demand, and we saw June and July, May, June, and July only up about 3%. And overall industry supply is growing at about 5%. So we are seeing demand grow less than supply, which means overall occupancy was and has been down this summer. And we see shorter booking windows and lead times. People are waiting longer to book. And that's clearly been impacting industry performance. Vacation rental markets have been doing better than sort of other sort of large metros, mid-sized cities, but in general, it's been a weaker than expected summer. And a big piece of it, or at least a significant portion of the decline, has been from international travel to the U.S. We've seen it down about 5% this summer. Primarily from Canadians not traveling to the U.S. anymore, and stays for Canadians to the U.S. is down like 35%. So,
wow.
Brandy, and Adirondacks market that's right on the Canadian border, like
it's getting crushed. I mean, from my family lives in Saratoga, so like very clued into the Adirondacks and upstate New York, and there's, I mean, huge decrease. I'm wondering, like, it's 35% as like a national average, but if you looked at these like border towns that really depend on people coming over, I'm sure it is much more dramatic.
Yeah. I could have sent you a map to sort of show, Will, but we sort of I did a map I'm showing it at the Hotel Data Conference this week in Nashville. But it shows the year-over-year decline in international travel. And essentially it's like all the declines are on the northern border. So the main markets and Adirondacks, the Finger Lakes, and Buffalo, Sarasota, Niagara Falls, all the way across to Seattle, all down, all from sort of Canadian border crossings, just being massively impacted.
I'd also be interested to see markets like Palm Springs and South Florida, because those have huge, they're obviously not drive-to markets, but a lot of Canadians come down in the winter. So maybe at the end of the year, we'll kind of have a better idea for those markets.
Yep.
Well, and
you're seeing it there too.
Well, I'm thinking maybe now it's time for me to go visit Seattle again, where I'm from, now that the traffic might be better. So that's one positive, right? Like if they're not driving over, it's kind of nice to have more room on the road.
No traffic.
Yeah, less traffic.
And then we got a ton of economic data last week, sort of supporting the sort of weakness on the consumer. So GDP was released last Wednesday, and while the headline number showed plus 3%, you sort of dig into it, and consumer spending, consumer expenditures was very weak. sort of up about 1%, when the past few years it's been growing at about 3%. So that is, and the major driver of the U.S. economy is consumer spending. And essentially it's been flat in the entire first half of the year, which is worrying. And then we got new jobs data from the BLS on Friday. It showed 73,000 new jobs added in June, and then major revisions to are in July, and then major revisions to May and June. So average job growth past 3 months has been about 35,000 jobs, which is very weak. Only a slight uptick in unemployment. So we are seeing that sort of same weakness on the supply side. We're not adding a lot of new people into the country. Sort of immigration rates are way down. So supply and demand moving down in lockstep, but essentially, the economy's a bit frozen in terms of growth with the uncertainty that we're seeing out there. We are seeing some new trade deals being sort of announced. Hopefully that is sort of bringing some regrowth to consumer sentiment, but it's still pretty weak out there, and probably will continue to be weak in the back half of the year, though we still aren't calling for a recession. So maybe walking the tightrope in terms of economic growth. My expectation is still no recession, but this has been, if we would have talked at the beginning of the year, I would have been pretty disappointed with what we're seeing so far in the first half of the year.
I'm wondering. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Will.
I was gonna say, I think I remember you being pretty disappointed in the first half of the year in general, whenever we asked you about the data. So it's all okay. I was like, I remember those moments. Jamie was like, yeah, nothing's changing. Nothing's going up. It's all going down. Just joking. But go ahead, Brandy.
I'm wondering, because when we start to see more uncertain economic times, usually the drive-to markets start to perform better. So maybe we'll see in the second half of the year if people are changing those travel plans, although we are kind of halfway or almost done with the summer season. So I don't know if anyone's planning a week-long trip to the beach right now, but we are talking about super short booking windows. So you never know. There's still some hope to get those like Labor Day bookings and everything.
Yeah, don't forget about go ahead.
I was going to say the most interesting thing for me has been the sort of breakout between the consumer. Like the high end consumers are still doing really well. They're still booking. So trips to Europe are still up. Sort of fly to markets that and really depend on sort of high net worth travelers continue to travel are doing very well. It's those drive to consumers, the ones that are doing their 1 or 2 trips a year. Those are the ones pulling back. So that's, and on the hotel side, we've seen big pullbacks on government travel, group travel. So there is this sort of tightening the belt a bit on budgets, which is causing some pullback there as well. So lots of different factors just overall causing weakness.
I'd be interested to hear from any of our listeners, especially those that usually have very robust summers. How are you seeing this play out in your markets? Are you having to lower ADRs, but you're still getting some occupancy? What are you seeing across the board? We'd love to kind of hear how this is playing out in real life.
Yeah, for sure. Because I'm also...
And sorry, one more comment to leave on some positivity, because I always like to get in that, and one thing positive at least when we're looking at the data. This fall, bookings are actually looking pretty good. So we've seen occupancy down this summer, but as we start looking into October, November, December, we're actually seeing some pretty good strength. And thinking back to last year, like we had the election, there was a lot of uncertainty around the election. There was some real booking pullback, really starting last fall. So maybe, and we're starting to lap some of that weakness and seeing some further growth. So our forecast does call for occupancy gains in the back half of the year. So yeah, we're still hopeful, and once we push back past this weakness, like there's hopefully some growth on the horizon.
Yeah, it just sounds like consumers are choosing to spend their money around the holidays rather than the summer vacation, maybe. So who knows? Could be just being picky with their money and how they want to spend it and the intention behind it. So something to keep track of and to keep watching, because I was gonna kind of pose the same question as Brandy. I would love to know how much of this weakness is actually not, well, yes, so a lot of this weakness is from international or lack of international travel, but I would love to know how much some of our markets have grown due to the drive-to market, because I know for at least out here in Colorado, seeing a lot more kind of staycation, day trip, type activities. Maybe they're staying one night in a hotel or one night in a camping yurt, or not a camping, but a glamping cabin, or type of setup. But yeah, data to discover for another time, I think.
Oh, also, I have a quick personal plug as we're thinking about future bookings. I'm planning a family ski trip to Big Sky, Montana in March. So if we have any listeners, I'd love to support a listener when we book, because I am in charge of that in my family, which is not a surprise. They're like, you do this for a living, you should be able to book. So we're looking for some recommendations and would love to help Jamie's data going forward. This is a great booking window,
100%. 100%. Great booking window.
Not Get booking in March for March.
Yeah. Yeah. And Steve Turk, who is on our hotel crew here on Good Morning Hospitality, just sent in a comment. He said, in our units, we are seeing short booking windows in the week for the week, but occupancy and ADR above last year at the end of the month. So yes, shorter windows for the week, of the week, or during the week, but a little bit more money. So not bad trade.
I even think, personally, I'm going to a wedding in Scotland Labor Day, and we haven't booked the hotel yet. It's actually something I have to do this week that we'll have to get done. But normally I'd be planning months in advance, and now it's like, don't get booked.
Same. Well,
I think I know someone with some castles in Scotland that might be able to help out.
Yes. Actually, I thought my cousin's getting married in a castle, and for a moment I thought it was one of the ones from Storied, but it's not.
Shout out to Storied, Michael Golden. Speaking of Michael, for all those who are listening and like, where's Michael? He's been on a work trip this week, so just FYI, he's still here. He's just on a work trip. No, it's good. I was gonna say, I totally lost my thought. I had a comment or thought on some. Oh yeah, since that Brandy got to do a shameless plug on Montana, I also want to kind of do a shameless plug to Skift Global Forum, because I know for a lot of the people that are listening right now, who are listening to us talk about Booking.com and all these OTA data points and changes with travel and stuff, you're going to hear about this from the biggest names on the biggest stage. Glenn Fogel, Ariane from Expedia Group, all these big, awesome players. So check them out. Just FYI, a little shameless plug. And you're going to see the GMH crew. What up? I think, maybe. Actually, I might not be able to say that right now, but sorry for anyone at Skift listening. Anyways, long story short, we're back. No, it's really good points. So Jamie, with the rest of the year kind of looking good, but not fully, like anything can change, right? What are your, I guess, like insights for the listeners that they should be looking at? You're a host yourself, so I'm sure you got some good little tips along the way.
Yeah. And the thing I'm watching most closely is unemployment rates. And do we see more unemployment insurance sort of claims start to increase? Because that's the thing that hasn't broken yet. Like, yes, hiring's weak, but unemployment has overall stayed low. We've been at 4 to 4.2% over the past 15 months. So until people start getting laid off, like, I don't think we're in a recession. And we can be in this slow growth environment for some time. And yeah, it's maybe not great for industries like ours that are sort of discretionary, and we're sort of looking for sort of growth to drive things. But at least things aren't meaningfully negative. We're not seeing pullbacks. We're not seeing any major sort of price corrections of like, oh wow, like occupancy is decreasing so much that we're all competing on price now, and you can sort of get into that sort of competition spiral. And as always, keep an eye on employment, and it really drives the cycle. But until things start going negative, like I'm not going to be too worried yet, because fortunately, supply demand still in balance. Yes, we're not adding a lot of new jobs, but we're also not adding a lot of sort of new supply of workers. So, and then there's always what's happening to AI. How is that impacting things?
Oh my God, we almost made it an entire episode. Yeah. Almost in the last 30 seconds. Gotta say it.
Yeah. Because and then also the stock market, stock market was down last week. It had been up. We had been sort of sitting at record highs. So if sort of sentiment pulls back even more, like that could be sort of bad for wealth effects. So people are feeling good, like they spend money if they see more money in their stock account. Don't shoot the messenger.
Don't shoot the messenger. I have a feeling you have to repeat that quite often, Jamie.
More so than you'd think.
Exactly. Well, yeah, fun episode today, packed with the data. I'm going to call whenever we have Jamie on. It's like, all right, we're in the data corner now. We're fully ready for it. Super good stuff and insightful. I know for the listeners and for myself, I find it really important for hear what you have to say around this. So thank you for taking the time to talk about it and bring it to the live listeners. But for all the non-live listeners, please like and subscribe. Grab that link in the show notes. And of course, if you haven't already, follow your hosts. We have the amazing Brandy Canali, who is just crushing it on a little vacay. We got the one and only Jamie Lane, who's bringing all the data for all the data nerds out there who love it. And then, of course, Michael Golden, who is the king of castles and outdoor experiences. And, of course, myself, Mr. Media himself. So see you guys on the next week. And without further ado, actually, no, not the next week. See you on the next episode of GMH coming out on Wednesday. Bye-bye.
Want to stop juggling spreadsheets, calendars, and a dozen apps just to run your rentals? Logify makes it easy. It's an all-in-one toolkit for hosts. Build a direct booking website, automate guest messaging, and keep all your channels in sync. Running your rental business your way has never been simpler. And for Good Morning Hospitality listeners, you can get 20% off any yearly plan with code GMH20. Just check the link in the show notes to get started today.